Welcome back to The Backmarkers, the F1 podcast for new fans by new fans. I'm Mike Hurley, and I have the pleasure of being joined by Austin Evans. Hi, Austin.
Hello. My hair might try to escape my head right now,
Uh-huh.
but the cars didn't escape the track for our viewing pleasure. I probably should have thought that one through.
Yeah,
But,
some
it's one of those sentences where you start talking and you don't know what you're about to say. Yeah.
some of them
Well,
escaped the track.
Some of them, unfortunately, more than a handful actually did escape the track. Good race though.
Thrilling. Genuinely, I was thrilled by that race. I thought it was fantastic, especially the last 10, 15 laps. My heart was pounding. And we'll get to why in a little bit, but I loved it. That was a fantastic race. This was great.
Absolutely. So to kick it off real quick, so we've got ourselves a familiar-looking P1, especially lately. We've got Max coming in. Although, even though he did win the race, Carlos was right behind him. Like you said, it was very close. Really, throughout a good chunk of the race, there was a lot of stuff that kind of went on. But especially that last, 15 or so laps, it was really tight. And your boy Lewis got himself a podium, which I don't remember. This is his second podium of the year?
No, I think it's the first podium of the year.
Is it really
This
his
is his
first?
best performance this year. I believe, now, and I'm going on memory here, I believe this is the first race where he has outperformed George.
Which is great because George did come P4, but a good race from Mercedes team, especially after Baku last week, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about. But going down the rest of the order, we've got Leclerc coming all the way from 19th to 5th, which is impressive. We've got Ocon at P6, Alonso P7, which normally sounds pretty good, but maybe not quite so much for this race. Then we've got Bottas at 8th, Zhao at 9, and Stroll rounding out at P10. So definitely a unique lineup. Not a bunch of people not in the points like the McLarens and whatnot, but also we've got a lot of representation from Alpha. We've got both Alpines in. We really got Stroll was the only racing point, but I know Seb was up there for
Racing point. Whoa, you just went straight back there.
Racing point?
You said racing point.
Let me rephrase. Aston Martin. I'm sorry, I got the pink cars on the brain.
Buddy, that's hilarious. But that's not the pink car is Alpine now.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
So many different eras there that led you to say racing point, which is hilarious.
Oh, man. But yeah, a good race, though.
Yeah. My first time seeing a Canadian Grand Prix.
It's a good track.
It's a great track.
I definitely
Very
enjoyed.
unique.
Yeah, I enjoyed qualifying a lot. I think it was really cool. But seeing the race, it didn't disappoint, right? I mean, to be fair, I think all of the DNFs were all just mechanical. There was nothing that was really super exciting as far as
unknown,
massive crash.
Unknown about Yuki right now. Yuki just came out of the pit straight into the barrier. It's unsure at the moment, right? If it was either something was wrong with the car or he just overcooked it. At least they weren't sure during the race. I mean, I'm sure this is something we'll find out. He will talk about it. Yeah. Maybe they'll be talking about it during the post-race. So I'm sure that the wonderful people in the paddock that we have watching live with us, as we always do, can maybe let us know if Yuki talks about why he lost the car, but just came straight out of the pit, straight into the barrier, which pretty unfortunate there for Yuki Tsunoda.
Yeah. But especially after seeing qualifying yesterday, for context, a very, very wet qualifying, which is always an exciting one. And if you've never watched a race at Montreal before, there's the Wall of Champions, which is something that the commentators love to reference. But it stayed pretty clean today.
No one hit that area.
Yeah. I mean, people were mostly keeping it on the paved bits, mostly.
Yeah, I think aside from Yuki, everyone that DNF'd had some kind of issue, so they just came off the track, right? So DNFs included Sergio Perez, which was very early into the race, 7 laps into the race. Mick Schumacher at 18 and Yuki Tsunoda at 47 into the race. But I think there were like 4 or 5 safety cars. It felt like maybe 3 or 4. It was an exciting race today. I'll say.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you mentioned Baku real quick.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
Really, after last week where there were some things going on conspiring against us recording, I think it's worth kind of catching up really quickly on what happened last week, because last week was, I almost want to say, either a good race or an absolutely horrible race, and I lean toward a horrible race because it wasn't very competitive, shall we say?
Yeah.
And I may or may not have started to fall asleep toward the end of it.
This is the first race I've ever watched just highlights. I didn't catch it because not only was it 4 o'clock in the morning, I was stuck in California with COVID and I wasn't going to wake up for it. That's like a whole other story. I've said this story about 1 million times on other shows now. I do not want to go over it again. You can go and find any of my other podcasts in the last 3 weeks and you'll hear me talk about this story. But I watched the highlights yesterday, actually. My wife was like, you should watch this before you start recording. So we did. And so we watched it just before qualifying yesterday. And the highlights, I mean, it made it look relatively interesting. Obviously, the most interesting part was all the Ferrari failures, right? Like, that was the most interesting part.
Yeah, it was one of those things where I'll admit that being up at 4 a.m., I was a little sleepy.
Yeah.
So once both Ferraris were out and the race calmed down a little bit, I may have fallen asleep and woken up and seeing that the podium ceremony was going on. I was like, oh, oops. I'm sure I didn't miss anything super exciting, right?
Yeah.
Max won by 3 hours, and it was a great race. But, man, it's starting to look like Red Bull are going to run away with this thing. Like, it's hard to imagine that not being the case now, especially considering that we were, 2 months ago talking about how Ferrari and Charles were way, way in the lead. But now, I mean, it's not even close.
I think it is clear, as I've said previously, I'm not trying to be like, oh, I'm so smart. Like, I think Max is going to run away with it. I am not convinced necessarily that Red Bull are going to run away with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough at this point because we're making good progress through the season.
But
like,
now they're at 304 to Ferrari's 228 to Mercedes 188 in the points in the constructors. It will be hard for anyone to catch up with Red Bull as a team, but I'm not going to say it's impossible. We're not even halfway through yet. And I'll say purely for reliability's sake. But again, Ferrari is closest, and they're even less reliable than Red Bull right now. So it's hard to tell. But my feeling seems very clear to me that Max is going to win this. I don't know if I would necessarily count Red Bull as a clear runaway for the constructor.
Yeah, well, it's interesting to think about because we've seen such big swings, and the thing that's starting to kind of land with me, literally as we're speaking here, is you think about all the mechanical failures, and of course, this is the first year of the new regulations. These cars are brand new, short of the engines, and even some of the engines have been pretty heavily modified for 2022. There's a lot going on, and yet it's interesting that for all the problems the Mercedes have had, DNFs actually haven't really been one of them. They've had pace issues. They've had beating Sir Lewis Hamilton to death by pogo stick issues, but they haven't actually had like a lot of huge smoky catastrophes.
They haven't had any. Both of them have finished every single race, which is, they may be the only team to have done that. Jen, I don't know, right? Like, I
think you might be right.
I would love to know the answer to that, but I feel pretty confident in saying Mercedes may be the only team that's gotten both drivers home every weekend so far. But that's the situation they're in, which is why they are 188. They are 40 points behind Ferrari right now.
Crazy.
Now, again, when you look at the fact that when you just look at where the drivers themselves are, right, that makes it a very, very different story. I mean, at the moment, you've got Max is at the top, obviously, then Sergio, then Charles, who's now 3 points behind Sergio because Sergio didn't bring it home today. And then George Russell is down at 111, ahead still of Carlos. Even with Carlos's good points today, he still couldn't pull ahead of George.
Yeah, and George has been Mr. Consistency. I think he's finally earned
That's the name.
tag. I mean, he has been. I still think he has not broken his streak.
This is top five every race. Right? Yep.
Every single race. Which
the only driver to do that too.
Yeah. So impressive.
Yeah.
So impressive.
And I was worried about him today, I'll be honest, because what did he qualify 8th? Like, and that was, I see what they did. It was like a smart move in qualifying. In case you missed it, in the final kind of minutes of qualifying, it was a wet track, but it was starting to dry out. George decided, let's just put on some slicks and just go for it. Some regular tires, some non-wet tires, because when it's wet, they have more grip. And he's just like, no, don't we put some regular tires on? Because if he was right, he was saying before the race in the pre-race interview, he was like, if it was anything like Sochi, I might be able to pull this in again, and he's done it a couple of times last year, especially where he was pulling out these incredible qualifyings, taking these bold risks and getting him, that's how he got that second place, right? In that completely wet race in Spa. So I think he was just wanting to give it a go. It didn't work out for him and he ended up qualifying 8th, but I don't think it affected his race at all today.
Yeah, no. I think he took a risk. In hindsight, probably a little bit too big of a risk, but you're right. He was able to fight through a little bit of luck with some of the timings of like safety cars and whatnot. But generally speaking, George continues to be, I think, not only Mr. Consistency, but also just an incredibly impressive. He's doing such a good job with a car that obviously it's not fair to compare George and Lewis head to head, since it seems like almost every race this season they've had small to medium differences in the cars and the setups and trying this part and that part and everything. But that being said, George has just been there day in, day out, absolutely earning his space on that Mercedes team to the point where I'm sure if you're Toto, you're like, man, George, I'm sorry I didn't put you in last year where you could have maybe won like a championship or something. Hopefully we'll get this kind of caught up a little bit in a little bit, because it's really impressive what George has been able to do.
On that note, Pavel in the chat, the live chat, we record this live, by the way, as soon as we can after every race at backmarkers.live. You can come and check out the live video that we do. We also leave the video up afterwards. Pavel asks, does anyone think Mercedes will get it together by the end of the season? I do. Look, I don't think we're going to start to see them winning, but I think we could start to see them getting more and more convincing podiums, because look at the progression so far. Like, today, there was nothing wild needed to happen for them to get where they are. Like, they had one DNF in Perez. Like, yes, like obviously Leclerc started far back again, but that's all through work that Mercedes are doing around keeping consistency. But I think today they put in a very convincing race, and as they were saying at certain points, Lewis was on the pace as the guys at the front. So I think that they are not at race-winning speeds yet. By the end of the season, maybe.
It's interesting to say. I mean, obviously they've dug themselves a hole, but on the flip side, they, I think, have been, generally speaking, quite lucky so far this year, right? I mean, obviously George has had a great string of consistency, and a lot of that has been on him. Although I will say that there have definitely been a fair bit of a luck involved in a lot of those finishes where, he was the right place at the right time, or he avoided this, or, whatever the case is. So circumstances have definitely been kind
but
for Mercedes this year.
This is that thing about consistency, though, right? Like, to be at the right place at the right time, you still have to put yourself there.
Absolutely. You need to take advantage of what good fortune might be able to come your way. So they've been doing good. I think where they're at right now, I think P3 seems very safe for them. I would be very surprised if Mercedes beat Ferrari for P2.
I don't think that's going to happen.
Like a stretch.
No.
It does, but we'll have to see.
Wilder things have happened. I mean, like, so, what I'm saying is, Mercedes might pull it together. I think it could still happen. I said, like, I don't think that they're going to be 1-2ing at the end of the season, but they're going to be in a better position than they are now. We've seen things happen before. Ferrari could drop back. Like, Red Bull could drop. Anything could happen.
Kind of have been.
Exactly.
Well, because we have to keep in mind that sort of really it was last week that almost every Ferrari, I think one of the 6 Ferrari-powered cars last week actually made it to the finish line. Like, almost everyone was having issues. Most of them were engine-related or hydraulics or engine-related. And so this time out, you can imagine, since it's only been a week, they're having to turn the engines down a little bit. They don't want to stress things out, since it's hard to make, even figure out what went wrong in a week, much less try to make a fix for it. And there was one Ferrari engine failure, which was Mick Schumacher. I don't know if we know exactly what happened there. It seemed like his car just kind of quit, which is typically engine related, but also sometimes I feel like the idea of an engine failure is a little bit nebulous.
I think they
there's
said
so many engine-related things.
Transmission. I don't remember if that was for Mick or not, but
yeah, I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out after, maybe in the next few hours or something. And just shout out to Meg. That sucks for his race.
Yeah. I mean, he was probably going to get his first points today.
Yeah, has had such a good qualifying, and just to see them not really be able to capitalize on that is really unfortunate. But if you're Ferrari, you've got to be deeply concerned right now, because you're not spending all your time and, really importantly, your money on developing the car to be faster. You're developing the car to not explode.
Yes.
Right. And that's not a great place to be when Max is just destroying everyone in his sight. And even though they obviously had some teething issues earlier in the season, they seem like they've generally speaking been better. That being said, Checo did have that, pretty early issue today. So obviously that's not everything is completely fine and everything, but it's certainly looking a lot safer to be Red Bull than Ferrari right now by a long, long way.
Sherlock Holmes in the chat, obviously with the information, because Master Detective says it was a gearbox transmission for Checo. So that might have been who I was remembering. So I don't know what it was for Mick.
It's totally fair. I mean, again, I always take what they say is the issue with the car with a grain of salt because they're going to tell you what sounds convenient. But point. Sure, we'll go with it.
No, that's fair. That's a really fair point.
Power unit.
Yeah, well, it's also Christian Horner coming on the radio immediately. What was the problem with the car? It's like, whatever we want to say.
Checo hit the paddle too hard. Yeah. It's okay. We'll fix it next week.
Yeah. So it's like I find that to be a funny thing. I want to just shout out Zhou Guanyu in at 9 today.
Yes.
It's a great result.
No, he did a very, very impressive job.
Yep.
And in fact, both the Alphas had a lot of speed this time.
Yep.
I mean,
Bottas at 8 ahead of him.
Exactly. It's one of those things where it's nice to see that they've had a lot of potential throughout the last, really pretty much since this year has begun, but they haven't really been able to take advantage of it with both cars. There's usually been a problem here, a problem there, whatever. But to see Valtteri consistently doing well and Zhou actually doing a really solid job of out-qualifying him a couple of times, performing well, like it's been nice to see. I'm sure that whole team has to be very happy with where they are right now.
Well, honestly, one of my favorite things of this race this week was Lance Stroll at 10. I'm just happy for him, right? Like in a Canadian Grand Prix. Like I seriously, like I'm just pleased that he had a good result today, and he had a good race too. Like he was holding a lot of people up, and he was doing a good job of it. Like I think Leclerc got pretty sick of seeing him at one point. It was, I was happy for him. I know a lot of people don't like Lance Stroll. I do, and I don't know why. I think he's my guilty pleasure. I kind of like the guy. I can't explain it. But I like to see a racer in their home race do a good job because it means more to them than pretty much any other, right? So it's just a good feeling.
Oh, absolutely.
All right, you got your timing clock out?
I'm ready to go. Ready for a pit stop.
Yeah.
We need to refuel. Oh wait, no, you can't refuel anymore. We need a fresh set of tires.
Refuel.
And okay, we're gonna refuel starting in 3, 2, 1, and go.
This episode of The Backmarkers is brought to you by Mint Mobile. Families come in all shapes and sizes, and the variety isn't always reflected in the big wireless company's family plans. That's why Mint Mobile decided to shake up the wireless industry with their brand new modern family plan. Each line starts at just $15 a month, and you only need 2 to get started. No matter how big or small your family is, you deserve to save on your wireless. For people who don't like getting their phone bill, Mint Mobile offers their premium wireless for just $15 a month. Mint Mobile gives you the best rate, whether you're buying for one person or for a family. As you know, with Mint, those families start at 2 lines, which is awesome. All plans come with unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. Plus, Mint Mobile's modern family plan will let you mix and match the data plans so everyone gets the amount of data that's right for them. I think this is awesome because it will enable you to have that plan. And if one person's on Wi-Fi all the time, one person's out traveling all the time, it will let you balance out that data. And plus, as Austin's mentioned a bunch of times, it's so easy to get up and running with Mint Mobile. You just pop the SIM in, get things registered, and you're ready to go. There's no big long queues on the phone or anything like that. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and keep your same phone number along with all your existing contacts. So switch to Mint Mobile and get premium wireless service. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month, including the modern family plan, go to mintmobile.com/backmarkers. That's mintmobile.com/backmarkers. Go there now and cut your wireless bill to $15 a month. One last time, mintmobile.com/backmarkers. Thanks to Mint Mobile for their support of Backmarkers and all of Relay FM.
Time.
Okay.
Mike, do you think that was faster or slower than last week?
Slower.
Last
that felt slower.
It was close. Minute 42.84.
Okay. Now,
pretty good.
In my defense, there were different sponsors.
different sponsors
Right.
that want different things. Sometimes you got to come in for hard. Sometimes you got to come in for a wing adjustment. You never know.
Yeah, there was definitely a couple of wing adjustments needed during that one. I said context. Context. Keep all of your existing context with Mint Mobile, so that's good. All right, so that time is recorded. I think Mint Mobile are back in a couple of weeks, so we'll see if I can beat that speed.
Well, we just have a chat with them. Like, we got to get a little higher on the leaderboards here. So
It's just cut out every third word.
Mint Mobile, good. Thanks for watching. Subscribe.
Won't get paid for that one. Who was your back marker of the race? And again, we have to be. There was no back markers because of the late safety car, but in the we'll go in the back half. Say, who was your favorite of the week?
To me, it was Mick, and almost entirely because he deserves those points. With that qualifying, he had everything kind of lined up. It sucks to have that happen in a race that he was doing so well, and it's just like he's got to get those points. And today just seemed like the perfect kind of opportunity. I was looking through the list here. No one else really jumped out to me hugely.
Seb had a good race.
Okay, fair.
Seb had a good race.
Did have a good race. I just wanted to see Mick finally actually score some points.
Yep.
Like I said, is that your pick, or do you have someone else? Seb?
Yeah, originally I had Lance, but then Lance ended up finishing pretty well, so I don't feel like I can, in all good consciousness, call him my back marker of the race. So I would go for Seb. I think Seb had a strong race this week. I don't know what it is in the last couple of weeks, just in like videos I've seen and stuff, I'm getting a real soft spot for Sebastian Vettel. I just watched a couple of videos, like a couple of interviews he did and stuff, and it's like, yeah, I love that guy. And plus, I've been seeing some stuff I didn't know about. I don't remember when this was, but not too long ago, the Canadian Grand Prix where he was penalized. If you've been seeing this online, it's just a few years ago.
2019?
Maybe 2018, 2019, where he had a 5-second penalty in the Canadian Grand Prix, which, even though he ended up crossing the line first, went to second, and Lewis beat him, and Seb was really mad, and he picked up the marker and put it in front of his car to say he was first. Yeah, it's just stuff like that. And then I was again, I don't know also, but like seeing about something he did against, was his teammate Mark Webber at Red Bull? I think this is going back years ago.
I think yeah.
And there was
when
he was told to stay under team orders during a race. I don't know if this was also Canada, but I don't know why I saw this.
Are you talking about Multi 21?
Yes.
Oh, that was Singapore?
Yeah, the race is. I don't.
10?
Yeah, why? Do you know why it's called Multi 21? Was that just the name of the race?
No. It was a whole long story. Multi 21 was, and please in the comments correct me if I get any of the details here wrong. Multi 21 was Red Bull code for hold position, and so Mark Webber was in the lead, and Seb was in second, and Seb passed him anyway. And there's a famous moment in the cool down room where Mark is like, Multi 21, Seb, Multi 21, and Seb's just like.
Because I was watching an interview, I think it was with WTF, is it WTF1?
Oh, I saw that as well.
And Seb, and he asked him, would you do it any different? And Seb said, no. And that was when I then went and found a video on F1's website about what Multi 21 was. I'll find that video and put it in the show notes. It's just one of those things. It's like, I don't very frequently find these little bits of F1 history, but this one just ended up coming along my path. And I was like, oh, that's a lot of fun.
So if those are our favorite back markers of the race, Myke, who's your favorite underperformer of the race? I was looking through here. I was thinking a lot about it before we recorded, and I want to say it's a tough call, but I don't think it's going to be a tough call.
For me, it's Lando. I don't know what's going on with Lando Norris. I kind of do. He had some engine problems the whole weekend, but that's not good, man. He had a bad race. He had a terrible pit stop. It all ended up just going. Anything that could go wrong for Lando went wrong this week. So it's a real shame. I'll say it, a real shame, because I don't think he deserves to be in the position that he was in this weekend. But at the same time, I don't know how different it would have ended up being. Daniel Ricciardo didn't do great either. So
I was about to say my back marker of the race, my underperformer of the race is just McLaren overall, right? Danny Rick did a pretty decent job in qualifying. wasn't really there in the race. Lando, it was hard to tell because, like you said, he was nursing. I heard something about maybe it was like a misfire or something, but he was nursing some engine issues. Seemed like pretty much all weekend. Plus that pit stop where they didn't know what tires to put on, and I mean, it's easy for me to
that
sit
looked
back on my
rough.
couch and be like, ha ha ha. But usually, I think you put the same tires on all four
Yep.
wheels. That's probably a good idea. So, just messy, and especially with a weekend like this that was so heavily dominated by strategy, whether it was in qualifying, whether it was in the race. Strategy played a key role. McLaren were nowhere on that front, so I'm sure there's going to be a rough debrief tomorrow morning on like what happened here.
I think they were saying during qualifying, I'm not sure if this is correct or not, that this is a track that McLaren would have expected not to perform very well in anyway.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but not this bad, right?
Yeah, I mean, to see neither McLaren in the points is not something that is a normal occurrence. So yeah, it's tough. I mean, obviously, everyone has a bad week or whatever, but it to me seems like it was more so McLaren, the team, and the cars that underperformed.
Yep.
I think Danny, Rick, and Lando just did okay, but it's kind of hard to judge when nothing was really going their way.
Yeah, it was rough for them. It didn't look great.
Yeah. Mike, I think I already know the answer to this. What was your favorite thing about the race? Because you definitely immediately spoiled us right before we went live.
So there's a couple of things. I mean, obviously, another 3-4 finish for Mercedes is awesome for me. But the thing that I actually enjoyed specifically the most was during the final safety car, they were playing this string of radio messages, like back one after the other. And when they were talking to Lewis, it kind of seemed like he couldn't believe that he had the pace. They had to keep telling him, like, no, you don't need new tires. Like, you have the pace. And it's like, I don't know about this. Is this right? And it's like, Lewis, you've got the pace. It was just very funny to me that he couldn't fathom that he would be able to keep up with the other two. I mean, in the end, I don't know like how close he could have gotten. I don't know if he ended up easing off a little bit or whatever. But I think with Verstappen and Carlos being in such attack mode, it just ended up pulling a couple of seconds difference between them. On that note, that Red Bull is so fast. Like,
It's so
I
fast.
can't believe that he is able to hold off the multiple DRS attacks that he was able to hold off. Because it's not like that Ferrari is a slow car. Like, I could not believe he just couldn't get to him. Just could not get to him. I don't know if another driver could have done it. Like, I don't know. Like, would Leclerc been able to have done it? I don't know. I mean, we've seen it happen this season.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it could have happened today. It's wild to see Red Bull as fast as it is. I kind of can't believe it when you see it in times like that.
There's a few things going for them. I think first and foremost to me, I feel like Max has achieved his final form. Like, I mean, I think especially after last year.
He's a worthy champion now. I'll tell you that. Like,
he is. I mean, it's like he was genetically grown in a lab to be the perfect racing driver. Like, I mean, he's just on top of every aspect of his racecraft. On top of that, there are a lot of talks right now about the FIA trying to clamp down on the cars bottoming out and bouncing quite so much, since it's becoming a real safety hazard now.
yeah, that seems so nebulous to me. Like what they've announced so far, this is the porpoising we've been talking about, right? That they want to try and stop it from happening for good reason, because Lewis has been going through a real tough time, and I think they know like we can't allow the drivers to be going through this, but they're kind of just like, we're going to limit you. I was like, what does that mean? So it seems a bit up in the air right now,
but if you're talking about Red Bull looking fast now, Red Bull is one of the cars that porpoises the least or bounces the least compared to like the Ferraris or the Mercedes, where you see the heads just blinding. I'm so happy that they've integrated the helmet cams this year, because it's one thing to see on like the onboard, the driver's head bouncing. It's a completely different thing to see what's like inside the helmet, of picking your braking points, of just making corners, just being able to judge distances as literally your head's doing this. It's insane to me. So I'm happy that they're trying to make some change. It seems pretty clear this is not something that can go on, but it does seem like any changes that are made are more than likely going to help Red
Yeah.
Bull since they're having fewer and fewer of these things. Like if the FAI just said, hey, everyone has to just raise their ride heights or something, I think that would hurt a lot of people. But if they're just going to go after specific teams who are bouncing too hard, I would be very surprised if that catches Red Bull, where it's probably going to slow down Ferrari and it's probably going to slow down Mercedes,
I mean,
which is just going to leave Max just down. He's just going to be gone.
I know that this is probably going to be a pretty unpopular thing that I'm going to say, but and it isn't. Basically, I think that because this was a regulation change that did this, I think they should change the regulation and make everyone raise the cars. Like everyone should just raise the cars until they can tweak it. Like everyone should do it.
If you can design a car that is low and also isn't bouncing, isn't that the point? Like just because
You've
some people
already
figured it
spoken
out
me out
and
of
some
it.
others. Yeah, to me it's like Red Bull designed clearly a very, very competent, well-designed car.
It's for me in these kinds of situations though, it's the drivers I feel sorry for because they don't.
Of course.
It's not up. This isn't up to them. But now, like, if they end up doing this, right? Leclerc, both McLarens, both Ferraris, both Mercedes, both Aston Martins. I think they're four of the teams that struggle with it the most. All of those drivers are going to be put in slower cars because of a regulation change, whether or not they want it. Right? It seems like Lewis is the only driver who's been pretty vocal about it. I think he's had the worst of it, but like now, but again, because this is so up in the air right now, they haven't actually said what is the limit that they're willing to go for anyway. So
yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if it ultimately doesn't change things a huge amount. I just don't think at this point that any of these changes are going to help anyone besides Red Bull. I think even a minor sort of compromise on other cars is going to help the Red Bull just be that far ahead, unless the FIA wants to put a little bit of a finger on the scale and try to slow Red Bull down. But I don't think we're there yet. I just all signs are looking good for Max. All signs are looking good for Red Bull. It's too early to call things, but it is looking incredibly strong to be a back-to-back champion this year. I would be very surprised if that's not the case.
I would be incredibly surprised if Max isn't the world champion this year. And as I've said before, I kind of want him to be because I want him to have that definitive victory, which I think at the moment he is taking. Like,
yes.
So as you say about like being that born racing driver, like right now he's just like he seems unstoppable. Like he just like. You can't come near him. Nobody can. And I think that was shown today. There, on paper, science is designed to overtake him. He's within a second with DRS, every lap for 10 laps. Verstappen should not have been able to hold him off. Verstappen could have then gotten it back, but it shouldn't have been holding him at arm's length constantly for like. It's kind of what they were saying on the commentary. It's just like, in circumstances like this, nobody can outbrake Max. I think he's just got more guts than anyone else, and so he'll just go deeper.
And he's got the cleverness to deploy his battery and to be fast at the parts of the track that matter, and to conserve and to charge things up at the points in which he knows he's not going to be. Like he's got a real mastery of exactly knowing where the car behind is, where he's faster, where you're faster, and sorting out, okay, he's going to try to pass me on the straight. I need to make sure that I get this far ahead here, or whatever the case is. But he's doing such a good job of defending and just sort of thinking about it as like a 4D chess game. Scary guy to race against, I'll tell you that. I mean, that's he is on top.
Man, I'll tell you, it excited me so much to see him and Lewis next to each other again, though. When they came out of the pits and Lewis, I mean, I got to say, I loved it when Lewis just like, nah, mate. And he knows he's not going to hold him back, but just in that one moment he's like, no, I'm going first.
Yep.
All right, so our next race is Silverstone. We're coming back to the British Grand Prix.
Wow.
I wasn't able to get tickets, Austin. We've decided we're going to make a much more concerted effort next year.
Okay, sounds like a good move.
Yeah, it just ended up being that like all that was left is these multi-1,000-pound packages. I want to get a weekend pass. And we're gonna. I don't know how I missed them this year, honestly. As I said, I put my name in on the ticket page. No one ever told me, so we're gonna make sure we get it next time. But I'm looking forward to it. Like it was, Silverstone was fantastic last year.
I'm very excited to see how the race goes. So it is 2 weeks from now,
2 weeks.
right?
Yeah, 2
I
weeks.
feel like I should know this. Yes. So the Lenovo British Grand Prix, July 3rd. the Lenovo British Grand Prix.
That sounds very strange.
It does, doesn't it?
Why did Lenovo pick Silverstone? Were there no British sponsors? Like, what a strange pairing. Like, usually, also, that just sounds weird. And what's Lenovo doing anyway, sponsoring Formula One?
Look, man, your guess is as good as mine. But we will catch you in 2 weeks for a very exciting conclusion to... Actually, no, not conclusion, because there's a few more. Never mind. Not even close to a conclusion. I was about to say the summer break, but the summer break is after Silverstone.
This was announced in March. Lenovo becomes a Formula One partner, like a big partner.
Oh, and you know what? They also are sponsoring the French Grand Prix, which is also the Lenovo Grand Prix. Interesting. Yeah, that's very strange. That's very strange.
It just sounds odd, right? Because usually, like the race sponsor is like, we know them, right? It's like Rolex, DHL, Pirelli. Like, just to hear a new one come out of nowhere, it's very strange to me.
I mean, this was the AWS race, which
But AWS have been around for ages in F1 though, right? Too.
Sure, yeah.
Like, because they sponsor with the graphics and apparently give all the data, which I don't know how exact. Like, but anyway, it's like powered by AWS. Like, everything is. Like, it's not just this data, but yeah, it's funny. All right, I look forward to the Lenovo Grand Prix.
The see who can boot up the Core 2 Duo fastest.
Wow. You can hang out with us as we record live. Go to backmarkers.live and you go to our YouTube channel. We're here after basically every race. I can't say every race now because we missed one, so I have to say basically every race. You can get the audio at backmarkers.fm if you want to just catch the audio version of the show, and we are at backmarkers live on Twitter. So until next time, Austin, say goodbye.
Goodbye, my friends, and until we meet again at our favorite Lenovo sponsored venue.
All right, can stop the audio.
Hot. Ooh, AWS prediction simulations. Yeah, sure. Look, my favorite part of the AWS stuff is that they always like throw up the graphics, and the commentators always like, "Yeah, what a great idea to do a two-stop." So here's why no one is going to do that.
Yeah.
It always makes me laugh. It's like they have to say it, but they don't want to say it. Like no one wants to say it. Oh, all right. So I'm going to get audio uploading. So thanks, everyone, for actually hanging out. I think we'll hang out for maybe, 5-10 minutes or so?
Yeah, as long as you want.
Hang out with everybody? Awesome.
Surely you have some contacts at Lenovo.
You know, you're not wrong, actually. That's a good call.
When you said it, I thought that was why you paused on it. Because you're like, hang on a minute.
I didn't.
There's some content
No,
here
I just
for
thought
me.
it was completely thought it was just funny. Yeah, maybe. I'm sure I can just come and hang out.
Come over in a couple of weeks.
Like,
let's get the back markers to the race. You know what I'm saying?
You got a call, and 5 minutes later you were in California, so I guess it's possible.
Exactly. These things happen. Although don't do what I did.
Never mind. I'll see y'all next week. Appreciate Relay doing downloadable MP3s. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's one of the things that I still personally like listening to. Podcasts.
Is that not a thing?
Players.
Like a downloadable MP3? Well, do people not do this?
A lot of video shows don't necessarily have a podcast feed.
Oh, yeah.
It might be on Spotify or something.
I see.
Yeah, so
we're ages. I'm just looking at the dates. We're ages away until the summer break. We have 4 more races until the summer break.
I said that, and I put my foot straight in my mouth.
You threw me off.
No. I thought it was July, and obviously it's August, right? Because the last race is Hungary, July 31st, and then it's August 28th is Spa. Look, man, it's been a long day. As you can see, my hair has been slowly escaping the top of my head. So the farther it gets, the less brain I have left to say smart things.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I fixed it now. I had to adjust a lot of audio stuff last time.
Yeah, we also definitely, when we were about to go live, we realized that both of our setups had just stopped being connected in any possible way, so everything just had to be reset immediately. Yeah. Can we do downloadable FLACs? Sure, I don't know if anyone's ever asked to download a FLAC.
You can download the MP3 and re-encode it to FLAC if you like. I will actually say we did this with Upgrade once, just for fun.
Really?
We offered the show in 5 different bit rates.
Whoa.
So people could, so we did like uncompressed audio all the way down to like, oh man, what was it?
It was like part of a bit to like see if people could tell the difference?
Yeah. It was during the whole lossless conversation. Is this the one? Yeah, we did it in lossless. As we always do it, which is in 128. And then we also did it in 56 and 8 kilobits per second. The eight
Okay.
kilobits per second was purely because I thought it sounded funny. Like, it sounds like we are recording underwater. I would say our shows, like Relay FM shows, are always in high bit rate. Nobody publishes in 128. It's like too high, but I love it. I think it sounds good. At 128 is the closest to what it sounds like when I edit, and I edit uncompressed. And like 128, I found out that's like the point for voice where you get basically no sound of compression.
Okay, now you're getting me curious. What's the bitrate of our audio on YouTube?
9, probably.
I'd have to download it. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure. I think it's 256 once you go to HD or something like that. But I definitely think for like spoken word stuff, it's very hard to distinguish the difference. For music and stuff, I feel like you can start to tell more of a difference once you get up to like 256 and 320 and stuff.
But one of the reasons, like the shows, the audio with us is mono, but I record the show, like I bounce the show in 128 kilobits stereo for the music. So you at least the theme music sounds as good as it can. Not as good as it can, but like within a reasonable amount without making the whole show twice as large.
Myke, it's time to go binaural. Wait, what's the is binaural the one that people are all hyped about?
Spatial audio.
Spatial audio. Yeah. I need to hear you all around my head.
I've been looking into that just for another bit. Just like, so me and Jason all through the summer, we do crazy things on Upgrade because we have to come up with stuff because there's not a lot of news, right? And we have been for the last 2 years wondering what would it take to do a spatial audio version of the show. And now these tools are available in Logic, but they're very complicated. So maybe within the next couple of years we'll do it just to be silly.
Yeah, well, because wouldn't you need multiple microphones to do that? Or could you do it with a single mic and just split it in software?
We could do it with a single mic and move it around in software.
Oh.
So that's what it does. Like it puts like a thing in the middle, and then you can put the audio. So like we could have us, and then we could move, like backwards.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, you could tell like almost like a story or something. Or that'd be cool for like a member special or something of like like a text adventure game or something where you hear kind of people walking around and doors opening. But
that stuff like just in stereo sounds really good. Like when I do the text adventures with the sound effects, just in stereo. Like if you get a good stereo sound effect, it can be fun. Oh, again, completely off topic. I enjoyed that ad again, the Grover ad.
Thank you very much.
You nearly ate it twice on that scooter. On the thing. Funny? What is it called? Quad.
The Tesla Cyber Quad? Yeah. So we definitely recorded that take like 9 different times. And I ripped up the carpet recording that. Because we kept doing it over and over and over again because I wanted to like.
But it's when you were at the elevator. That I saw it. You fell off. Or like you had to put a leg out. You had to put a leg out. You put a leg out.
Look,
yeah.
Putting a leg out is not cheating. Okay, that's just good quad control.
Good quad control. Seriously, actually would be good quad control with your leg involved, wouldn't it?
Actually, literally.
All right, let's end this thing. Everybody, thank you so much for hanging out. Sorry we weren't around last week, and we'll be back again in 2 weeks' time. I can't wait.
Peace, friends, and I will remember the month of July exists, which is probably
a good idea
to remember.
Bye.